And a lot of times when it comes down to it, positioning is so important around these objectives. A lot of times it really tends to be the team that is in position first around those objectives is the team that is more than likely going to gain the secure or win that team fight at that objective. And yeah, I know we talked a little bit about the Dragonite and the Mew ban as well. I think this is the first time that we've seen Ground Zero without that Dragonite on their team. So definitely seem to have an impact on their team since, they didn't win this game, unfortunately. So maybe if they can get that Dragonite back on their side, they can see maybe a better outcome going into this game too. We could also see that Gyarados ban coming back too. Joe still seemed to be the teammate that really made the most difference with their Pokemon. Granted, it was definitely a team effort. I think, between the Trevenant, the Gyarados, and the Clefable, there is such a strong frontline presence coming from that team. But again, it all boils down to that Wraith Bite, and that Blastoise just had a phenomenal Hydro Typhoon. I feel like we kind of saw that Blastoise struggling just a little bit prior to that Wraith Fight, but it was really great to see them being able to have such a huge impact with that Hydro Typhoon.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you mentioned you're not having that Dragonite. I think banning both Mew and Dragonite is a great play from Antic Esports just to stop, I guess, a secure comp coming out from Ground Zero Gaming. It's been really the strategy, right, going into a lot of these games. And I remember last month as well for the March Cup finals, it was just quite impossible to outsecure them because they had Dragonite, they had Feather on the Aegislash, as well as Mio on the Mew as well. So definitely, I think taking 2 out of the 3 out of the conversation is a great play by Antic here. The other thing I want to talk about is I don't know whether you noticed at the start of the early game, it was very interesting, and I think this is the first time I've seen it happen. Sylveon on the side of Ground Zero, they took the red buff and then went up instantly to the top path to help out the Magic Cup. But the Magic Cup didn't actually stay in lane. They went through and cleared the rest of the central area for that team, gaining that level 5, and then I think they got an assist or something at the bottom path. That's why they got the Gyarados so early, because I think we were casting at the top, and then the camera was panning down. I was like, what? Joe is already on the Gyarados? How did this even happen? So I think that's something to keep in mind, right, when teams are running like the evolutions, because all they need is one buff, and they hit that level 4, and then Gyarados could munch up all the other wild Pokemon. It's all fine at the end of the day. So perhaps we get to see something like that again. It's not the typical central area clear, is it, Kelly? It's like we are all sharing in the bounties of this free wild Pokemon in that central area. So perhaps they keep doing this. I'm not sure whether Antic Esports would want to invade in that case. But only time will tell, and I'm very excited. I am personally hoping for 3 games just to keep the streak going for the cast. What about you? Are you thinking like there's going to be much change coming in from Antic Esports, because they have the momentum now, right? They've won the first game.
I think what we could see going into this game too, if I was Ground Zero, I definitely would still lock in that Gyarados as long as it's not banned. Dragonite also seems to do really well for them, so if they're able to lock in that Dragonite for their team, I think that could also do them some good as well. But maybe taking away some picks from the side of Antic, but I don't. I don't know what picks that could be, because I actually do feel like Ground Zero did a great job in the early and mid game.
Mm.
It was definitely a tug of war, as you mentioned, just a lot of going back and forth between both of these two teams, and there's a reason why these two teams are pretty much the top of the Oceania region, and so we're kind of seeing that at play here. But I mean, the set of games overall is going to be a tug of war between these two teams. So I could definitely see maybe Ground Zero trying to swoop up some picks from their side. I loved the strat with the Sylveon grabbing that orange buff and then having the Gyarados come
Mm.
down, grab some experience for themselves. And I was also very surprised to see that Gyarados online as quickly as it was. So that was actually some super incredible strategy there. I just think when it comes down to it, Ground Zero just, they need to play a little bit faster around those objectives and trying to get into positioning because I think that they had a phenomenal front line. It's just that Blastoise was able to break through it with that Hydro Typhoon. So maybe we could see them swooping up that Blastoise for themselves, maybe rocking the Surf build. That way they have a little bit better of an early and mid game with the Blastoise because I think the Water Spout Rapid Spin was a little rough with Antic.
Yeah, that's I think I was surprised to see that too, but if you think about it, there's no real Boswell or Machamp on the enemy team. So potentially, like, they felt like they had the ability to go spin. It is the move
Mm.
that does a little bit more damage, I think, overall compared to the Surf comp. But so the benefit of Surf is that the time you can stun the enemy from even moving is quite ridiculous. But we do have game two underway very, very shortly. I'm very excited to see whether teams have changed up their composition or not. And we don't have to wonder long because here comes game number two, Curly, of our winners finals today between Antic Esports and Ground Zero Gaming.
Oh, and it looks like we did see some very interesting changes on the side of I want to say that was Ground Zero. I believe they still had their Gyarados, and I also saw a Meowscarada. So Meowscarada did recently get a nerf, but it was such a small nerf with its attack stats, I believe, that it's
Hmm.
hardly even noticeable. So I think maybe utilizing that Meowscarada to try to get into that backline, try to jump on to those squishy mons, could very much work in Ground Zero's favor. But we might have a little bit of a technical difficulty here. So we are going to wait for these teams to be ready, and then we'll definitely get you guys that action here soon. But what do you think about the quick 5 seconds that we did see from these two teams?
I mean, I just anything. I didn't really get to glimpse at the two, I guess, the team comps over there. But something that actually reminded me of it, because I think see a little chicken there, Blaziken. I mean, talking about secure Pokemon, Curly, Blaziken could be another potential pick for both sides of the team. I mean, it's not all about the Dragonite show, is it? Or the Mew. I mean, if these players, and I'm sure they are very proficient at all these different Pokemons, right? They're mechanically very gifted and talented as well. I'm sure they can whip up a Pokemon if their main comfort is going to be taken off the map or picked by the opposition team. And I think Blaziken, it's very similar to a lot of the other top all rounders as well. If taking the top path, just need like a little bit of a push at the start to get that level 5, and then it can kind of like snowball a little bit. Especially right now if you have a Hooper on you, which is the amount of pressure early game from Hooper, the stun every boosted attack is really quite ridiculous if you think about it, because if you're getting stuck every time you're trying to go for a stack or something like that, it really gives that little Torchic the ability to maybe secure some of the farm and get that level 5 as well. So perhaps are there any Pokemon that you think, apart from the classic secure Pokemons, that Ground Zero could employ in the next game?
Um, hmm.
Or is it going to be another sizzle comfy scenario, and then they just throw all the rules out the window and say, like, you casters don't know anything about team comps, and we're going to run whatever we want.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that right there. I mean, I feel like when it comes to Ground Zero, we don't really know exactly what to expect. They definitely seem to be prioritizing a little bit of the meta, but also, after seeing Joe on Scizor and popping off with the 108,000 damage, like I honestly feel like at this point, Ground Zero can do anything. We really don't know what to expect, but here we go. looks like there were some little hiccups there because I know I thought I saw ground zero with a Crustle, but again, there were some technical difficulties, so there was a bit of a redraft. But this is what we've got here so far. So it looks like Antic Esports actually picked up the Dragonite for themselves. That's very interesting.
I mean, you either ban it or take it for yourself against this team, don't you, Curly? And look at this, a lot of pressure already coming in at 920 for Ground Zero Gaming against Antic Esports there. That Sylveon is so powerful, but that might be caught out there. An insane stun by the Hooper forces the eject. And look at this. All of Ground Zero Gaming don't have much HP going into this bird spawn here, Curly.
No, they don't. And not only did they steal away that Dragonite, but they've also stolen away the Magikarp, the Gyarados, what has seemed to be kind of a bread and butter for Ground Zero Gaming in this current tourney. Those are some pretty major power moves. Absolutely loving the changes that Antic Esports has made here in this draft phase. But Ground Zero Gaming is also looking very, very tanky with their team comp as well. So we'll just have to see what ends up playing out. But so far, we have a lot of pressure up in this top pad here. Looks like Squirtle might get away by the skin of their teeth with 1 HP there. So already we're seeing some phenomenal pressure coming from Antic Esports in this early game.
Yeah, I mean, they're just gonna look for this Dragonite to come online as soon as possible. Gyarados has really found their way to evolve in that top part there. Very early evolution for Gyarados. They're gonna be able to dish out a ton of damage. Looking at this Altara spawn in the middle here, Hooper and the Dragonair looking to take down as much as possible. But Combuskin, we manifested it, Curly. We have a Blaziken on the map here for Ground Zero Gaming. That's going to be an Umbreon knocked out for Ground Zero Gaming there. So that's going to be sent back to the pad here. Big push. They're going to take out Robbie perhaps on the Trevenant. He's running for his life over here. And I think Challenge is here just to back him up. And very smart decision, I think, from Ground Zero Gaming not to chase that Trevenant down.
Yes, otherwise that Trevenant would have been leading Ground Zero Gaming straight into the arms of that Glaceon there. So wouldn't have been very good for them. But here we go. We have a brawl happening here at 7 minutes and 15 seconds. But we have some respect going on here. It looks like they didn't want to fight there for too long. We do have Hoopa utilizing that Hoopa portal there and taking some teammates up into this top path here. So it looks like they're going to prioritize this Alecki. Now, this is the advantage of having a Hoopa on your team. You can kind of decide which objective you want to prioritize, and as long as you can win that team fight, you can send your team down to the bottom path in time for that next objective. But we'll see if that is the strat that they're going to play here as we wrap up this engagement in the top path.
I mean, Antic Esports just showing us again in this game that they really want to get this Regieleki off the pad as soon as possible. And it really paid off for them because that's going to go into that tier 1. I don't know how it happened. Gyarados is just going to be able to score the 26 and continue the engagement there. Dragonite unites right on the pad to zone the entire Ground Zero Gaming out of there. And come on, that's just a great show of the amount of pressure if your team, prioritize this top Regieleki because suddenly it is over 80-point difference now, Curly. And yet again, no love for this basement Reggie so far.
No love for it at all, but the Hoopa portal is down. They are rotating some of their teammates down to that bottom path, so it looks like we are going to start to focus on that, but we're going to take a team fight first as we do grab some of those Swablu's there for some experience. Levels looking very healthy on the side of Antic Esports. We got Dragonite taking down the Snorlax. That's going to weaken that front line for Ground Zero Gaming. Sylveon kind of getting a little chunked out there in that engagement. They are going to utilize the Fairy Frolic and grab some HP with that life steal. Looks like Blaziken was able to secure the Regice, and they're going to make a turn on this bottom tier 1.
Yeah, as soon as the Dragonite was knocked out there, Curly, there was not enough secure potential for Antic Esports. So I think Blaziken had just the comfort of being able to secure it with that overheat move as well. But looking at the levels, level 11 Dragonite and a level 10 Gyarados, as opposed to two level 10s on the side of Ground Zero Gaming. So Antic Esports does have that initial lead going into this mid game over here. The 5-minute mark has surpassed. And look at that. Gyarados and Hooper already on this Regieleki. They waste no time. They want a third Regieleki Curly, don't they?
Oh yes, absolutely. Especially since Ground Zero Gaming does not have a tier 1 anymore. So we'll have to see if they're gonna look to pressure this Alecki into the pad, and it's kind of looking like they are. Or rather, they're gonna test the waters a little bit, see if it's something that they can get away with. But we are seeing Dragonite backing away from that, so Hoopa is just gonna maintain a presence there just to kind of occupy their time and be a little bit of a nuisance. Meanwhile, Antic Esports is trying to make a move on this bottom tier 1 pad. Looks like, ooh, Snorlax is going to get wiped off the map by the Trevenant there, and they are continuing to press their luck there. Massive Hydro Typhoon coming from the Blastoise, but it's just not enough, unfortunately. But oof, we do have a 2v1 between Trevenant and that Blaziken and the Snorlax, or Blastoise down there on the bottom tier 1.
Yeah, big shout out to Liz there to try to make a play. You know, while Robbie on the Trevenant was distracting two people, they managed to keep the team up, but it's not going to be enough because Sylveon picks up a KO streak of 4 while we're spectating the bottom path there, Curly, and that's going to be some massive experience for Joe. Already level 13 on Sylveon. I mean, that's the beauty of Mystical Fire, isn't it, Curly? You don't really have to aim the move. As long as you can keep the positioning away from the enemy, you're going to be able to dish out some solid damage. And looking into this middle part as well, Glaceon seems to be caught out here by the Blaziken. That's going to be a huge KO for Ground Zero Gaming. And look at that, everyone is just squashed in this little corner. Snorlax is taking a huge nap. Blastoise takes out Dragonite. And look at this, Robbie trying his best just to stop anyone from scoring this bottom path. They want to keep the score lead here. They are doing their absolute best. Gyarados comes back in time, gets a KO streak of 2. Umbreon will go down from Ground Zero Gaming. And look at that, just the sheer power and pressure coming in from Antic Esports to say, you scored a little bit on my pad, I'm gonna, you know, do one up on you. I'm gonna break this bottom pad as well to make sure that we have that 100 point defense level lead.
Yeah, there's that tug of war, as we've been mentioning, that we've seen quite often throughout this set of games between these two teams. So that is going to be an uncontested Reg Ice going to the side of Antic Esports. Ground Zero Gaming, though, is looking pretty healthy, but also Antic Esports, too. They've got 3 level 13s on their side. So I honestly think both of these teams here, it's still a pretty close game. Antic Esports is taking the lead as far as scoring goes, but we have Ray spawning in just a few seconds, and already these teams are showing up, and they're already picking fights. But of course, with that Hoopa port, oh, unfortunately, the Trevenant was not able to make it through that. So they are a little bit on the low side for HP, but they still got their passive locked down.
Oh my god, here comes a huge engagement from Ground Zero Gaming. They're really looking to put this pressure on while the Gyarados did not have their Unite move available. Hoover has to go unbound in their own central area. Blastoise knocks up 2 players on the enemy team. Gyarados is zoned out of the fight, Curly, and Dragonite holding on to their dear life as well. What a scramble to start this final stretch here. Gyarados looking to maybe come back into the fight. Do they realize this Rayquaza is getting shredded down by Ground Zero Gaming? Trevenant goes out. That's a huge pick for Ground Zero Gaming over here. And look at that. I think as soon as they can zone out this Dragonite, they are able to secure this Rayquaza. Big KO streak of 2 though. I think Dragonite has something to say about this. Snorlax able to keep the team alive there. Maybe score out a little bit more. But look at this. Antic Esports have taken back their power in this Rayquaza pit though.
Yeah, for a second there, it looked like Ground Zero was going to get the rip on that Ray, but unfortunately, they just didn't have quite enough damage to get the job done, and instead, it's going to be Dragonite on the side of Antic Esports that ends up securing the Ray, and so they're going to go and continue scoring some points and continue padding that lead that they already have. Ground Zeroes Gaming is going to try to do whatever they can to stop it, but they do have some teammates down, so it is definitely a job that they're not going to be able to fulfill, unfortunately. I'm checking out the score lead here, 637 points to Ground Zero Gaming's 141.
I mean, I have to say though, the fact that Anon was able to get out that engagement, getting zoned out by that Snorlax, able to come back into the fight to support this Dragonite was quite amazing there. And I think that that was really important for their team to make sure that the teammates don't go back to base, that early in that Rayquaza fight, because they know they have the lead, right? And it in it itself is a little bit of pressure at the back of Ground Zero Gaming's mind because they know, when is it the right time to start this Rayquaza? We want to flip it, but we also know the enemy team has a Dragonite. And really, I think that in itself was able to, I guess the bit of indecision, I think, from Ground Zero Gaming really lost them that Ray fight there because at the end of the day, once Challenge comes back on that Glaceon, you saw the spears are raining down from the top of the Rayquaza pit to the end to take down Mio on the Blaziken. And, stars of the show for sure. Sulu and Challenge doing some massive damage against Ground Zero Gaming.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at that damage on the side of Antic Esports. And as I mentioned, I mean, Ground Zero Gaming, they definitely had an opportunity at that Ray fight, but they just don't have the rip. They don't have the damage that Antic Esports has. You look at that Glaceon that's able to burst down HP like there is no tomorrow. And then, of course, you got that Dragonite there for backup for that secure. So, at the end of the match, it just definitely favored Antic Esports comps. A job well done from them is stealing some very, very huge picks away from Ground Zero Gaming. I think that was just probably one of the best decisions that they could have made in the draft phase for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. The Leafeon ban, the Mew ban, and then they take away the Dragonite. What's left is just a Blaziken, and obviously Blaziken is good at securing, but can you, defeat both the onslaught of the Icicle Spear and then, the Dragonite Hyper Beam once it gets its stats? It's really quite insane. Let's invite Lobo back. I'm sure he's been very excited behind the scenes watching our 2 games as well. Lobo, do you have any insights for us into since you're watching that 2 games?
Oh man, I think you guys covered it pretty well. What an absolute game. Both games going towards Antic Esports, they're proving that they are just that strong. But like the talking point's got to be that Glaceon. We talked about it, the big blue button, how strong it is. We saw in the previous round that we watched, we saw an Icy Wind Glaceon coming back in. Now we see the power of the Icicle Spears. But you guys touched on it. Antic Esports taking that Gyarados and the Glaceon for themselves. I was a little bit worried when that Magikarp was not going to get its levels early on, but once that fish crosses that waterfall, it becomes a powerhouse in itself, like you mentioned, Fu. But unbelievable game, and Antic Esports is going to move on, but it's not the end yet for Ground Zero.
Do you want to give us a bracket update, Lobo? Do you have?
Absolutely. I would
Yeah.
love to. Look, so we had Antic Esports going 2-0 against Ground Zero there, moving on. We had Legends
Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome to the OC April Cup Finals. I'm only just joining you, folks. I know there's been a lot of action, but I'm Telesaurus, and we do have, of course, a refresh Curly Q, Fu, and Lobo. Now, folks, I hear there has been a lot of action going on. Fu, can you give me, I guess, a little bit of an update of some of the highlights that we have just witnessed from the first two rounds?
I mean, I'm glad to hear, Kalo. There's just been some insane action today. I mean, we've seen, the classic Pokemon that have been coming in from both teams, the Dragonite coming from Ground Zero Gaming, right? The Leafeon have been in play. But then we also saw a Scizor Comfy as well on the side of Ground Zero Gaming. So, I mean, if that's an indication of what can happen in the matches we're going to spectate, Kalo, anything goes today.
Oh, that is good to know. Lobo, I guess what has been your highlight from the matches so far that we have seen today?
Oh, absolutely. It's just been the aggressiveness of all the teams on display. We're seeing the the top lane push with four members of each team consistently. We're seeing the Gyarados. Once that fish is online, it's such a powerhouse. And we're also seeing the strength of the evolutions continue to shine with Glaceon coming through with that Icicle Spear, Sylveon, the Mystical Fire, and Espeon with that stored power. But Umbreon is now getting a bit more play with that recent buff. So it's been a wonderful series of games that we've had so far.
Okay, so you're pretty much telling me it's still an Evolutions game, an Evolutions meta that hasn't let up, despite some nerfs. I mean, it's great to see that Umbreon is back in the fray and everything like that. Curly, what has been your favorite pick so far in the competition?
Um, I made a prediction at the start of this tourney, just based off of the patch notes that we recently got. I definitely said that I would like to see some more Snorlax being played, with that barrier, the block move being buffed, giving Snorlax a lot more mobility while utilizing that. But also Umbreon too. I mean, a lot of times we would see it being played as, that defender, the tank, which it is, but we've also started to see teams utilizing it for those double defender comps, in which case they're definitely leaning more on the Umbreon for support, because the heals from the Wish buff that we just recently got has definitely shown through and has been so incredible. Kello, I know you are such a big fan of the Evolutions, and we actually almost had a game with every single evolution except for the Umbreon, but still, the few times that we have seen it tonight, it's been a really great support for the team.
Have we been seeing the Leafeon bans being pretty much banned every single time as well, Curly? I feel like, is it still the same meta that we seen previous season prior to this patch, Buzzwole and Leafeon, or are we actually seeing some other bans come on through?
We definitely have been seeing a couple of Leafeon bans, if I remember correctly, but it has gotten through the draft phase at least once. And when it was played, it did its job. It did exactly what we have all seen, what we all expect. So definitely nothing new there. I will say something that I actually did find surprising is Buzzwole. We're actually not seeing as much a Buzzwole ban, and we're also not seeing it picked up either so far in the matches that we have been commentating. So that was pretty surprising for me. So Leafeon seems to still be in the picture and still receiving those respect bans, but Buzzwole has been off the table.
I suppose the teams have found the secret sauce to finally deal with that pesky mosquito. Slap it on down. It is not coming back, I say. I know it was definitely running havoc in the Sky Ruins for the longest time when it wasn't actually banned. But so far, the brackets. We are about to head on into our losers semi-final. We have Legends reappear going up against Dodo 2. So Legends reappear. I believe you probably would have already mentioned this. It's a bit of a mishmash. We do have some returning players from the regional championships last year, hence the familiar name. A few new players coming on in there, but Dodo Tufu, I guess, can you tell us a little bit about them?
Yeah, Dodo 2, it's actually the first time that this group of 5 people have played together, and they've come very far, Kello. I mean, losing semifinals on your first cup together, that is pretty amazing. And, this matchup is quite spicy for sure, because some of the teammates on Dodo 2 have actually played with the teammates on Legends Reappear as well in a previous cup. So, definitely, I mean, there's gonna be that tension, right, going straight into this match because you never want to lose to your, old fellow teammates. You want to be able to say that you've improved, you're on a better team now. So I'm very keen to see, especially the fact that I'm casting a Lobo as well, what action it will bring. So very, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
You know what? One thing that we definitely love in the OCE region, and I think it's just regions in general, is we absolutely love that little spice coming on into the scene. It just makes for these matches ever so exciting. And I guess considering OC is such a small region, you're going to have members switch on up here and there. It is such a common thing across the scene here. But look, I mean, Antic Esports, they were your February champs. Ground Zero Gaming obviously took it last month. Now, the thing is, are we going to see either Legends Reappear or Dodo 2 end up claiming the cup for April finals? Wouldn't that be a wild story, Lobo? Do you have any thoughts here?
Oh, absolutely. Like we just got done in the watching the title rematch from last month with Antic securing that spot in the grand final. We know how strong Ground Zero Gaming is, and we talk about it pretty much every cup. We love an underdog story. We love to see teams that are either coming back or that we haven't had a chance to have a look at here on broadcast. But I'm very excited to see these. Who's gonna possibly cause an upset?
Well, we're not going to delay you folks any further from this losers semifinals. Legends Reappear are going up against Dodo 2. I am going to be leaving this with Fu and Lobo for you. So please enjoy. Take it away, boys.
All right, Lobo. I mean, the name is a great I guess key and indication, right? Legends have really reappeared here. They were the regional champions of last season, Lobo, and they're here to make their mark once again. Now look at this draft. We have somehow a Snorlax going for the invade here, Lobo.
We love to see a Snorlax invade. It's especially super strong, especially with that early tackle secure. And it is going up against a little bitty Decidueye inside that central area for the side of Dodo 2. Decidueye has seen the Snorlax. Can we see if Snorlax can get away with the red buff? It's gonna, no, it's stalling it out just a little bit. And it does. The Snorlax does manage to get away with the red buff. Does look to provide some pressure here, but it looks like the Snorlax is just gonna pop that X speed and make its way out. Fu. Good early surprise invade from the side of Legends Reappear.
Yeah, and that definitely pulled the little Dwebble away from that bottom path there. Now, looking back at it, the Chef Snorlax is now with 3 other of their teammates here. So it looks like teams are really looking just to overload that top path, right? Mew is also coming up. This is a clash of a 4v4 Lobo at 8 minutes 50. And look at this, birds have spawned already, but the Snorlax is just looking to take down any person possible with this tackle move, and most of these birds are going to go on the side of Legends Reappear.
We know how disruptive that tackle can be. The Snorlax waited to go around and attack the little tiny Traveler, and then it got burst down with the Icy Wind. Fu, we are seeing the Icy Wind build as opposed to the Icicle Spear game that you guys watched previously. What do you make of that change from Glaceon to Glaceon?
I think it's a little bit of a personal preference as well, but maybe going up against a Crustal Lobo, if it's running the Rock Tomb move, the dash will be able to let it get out of there, whereas Icicle Spear doesn't give them that ability at all. Speaking of Crustal though, this little Dwebble needs to evolve against this Drizzle here, because look at that, a level 6 Drizzle against a level 4 Mew. Definitely a little bit of a struggle for Dodo 2 in that bottom path.
Absolutely. Looks like Legends Reappear are going to get these middle Altarias just uncontested here. 3 push side on the top. The little Trevenant has evolved and is online. Going away, going to reset through that Hooper portal. The Decidueye needs to go as it goes down, getting taken down in its own central area by the Icy Wind. There shows for just how beautiful that how strong that Icy Wind is.
Yeah, look at that burst coming in. Glaceon already has the Unite move. Gonna pop that Glacial Stage already to take down this Trevenant. Snorlax able to confirm that KO as well. Look at that Crustle online, but I don't know whether this is gonna be enough for Team Dodo to defend this. Oh, yes, they were bringing more reinforcement perhaps. No, Crustle gets sent at the bottom. So many people from Legends Reappear are still lingering in this top path, even though the basement Lobo is going to be spawning very, very soon.
We have seen, Fu, that the basement Reggie not exactly the top priority shifting into this meta, but we can see that Legends Reappear possibly want to pressure one of these top pads, as that Hooper Highway is super, super strong right now, just porting teams bottom and top. But as again, my math needs to be checked as both teams are starting to make their way down, as the basement Reggie has spawned and is a Reggie steal, Fu.
Yeah, look at this, a Registeel indeed, and here we go, Team Dodo 2 already looking to shred down this Regieleki. Oh my god, the auto attack coming in from Glaceon is going to do so much damage. Inteleon gets that conversion for the team. Trevenant goes down as well, and I think this is just a great opportunity for Legends Reappear to go in and possibly break this pad, isn't it, Lobo? Hooper has to come back, but it's just not going to be enough, and I think, you know, it's very smart to not really contest this anymore. Inteleon gets that score in as well. Didn't get to see how much overdunk that was, but it is currently a donut game for Legends Reappear. There's 0 points on the side of Team Dodo.
Absolutely. Legends Reappear putting a block on that Hooper Highway by taking down that bottom pad, as both teams are going to try and circle up here. Great positioning by the Snorlax with the Heavy Slam and block, actually zoning out Dodo 2 as Legends Reappear were trying to take that. The Glaceon securing that. We're seeing how strong that Icy Wind combination is combined alongside the Blastoise and Snorlax combination. It looks like Legends Reappear really favoring that front line. They don't want anybody getting to that Inteleon who is just going to pop those snipe shots, but it looks like Dodo 2 is going to make a push down the bottom here with the Spirit Shackle online as the Glacial Stage just decides to come on down, and the Unite moves are starting to fly for Dodo 2, Fu.
Yeah, that knock coming out from the Decidueye. Here comes the Hydro Typhoon, going to knock out 4 members of Dodo 2. What an impressive showcase of defense coming from Xavier. A KO streak of 2 on the Blastoise here, Lobo. And that is just going to fend the Dodo 2 exactly away from that bottom path here. Meanwhile, the Inteleon, without wasting a moment, Lobo, able to score in that 31, that top half as well. So, 199, Lobo, to 0 so far.
The Hooper Highway has been completely deactivated as Legends Reappear seem to have complete control of the map, just taking the central area farm and pressuring Dodo 2 so they can't get any farm. But now, Fu, this first Regieleki has not been touched at all. It doesn't want to be taken. Nobody wants to go for the Regieleki. Looks like both teams offering for the experience that are going to be gained from the basement Regis instead. Interesting turn of events that we're seeing from previous games where the top Regieleki was a bit more of a priority, as Dodo 2 are certainly starting to come together as both teams are circling their way down for this next basement Regieleki just getting no love at all, Fu.
Yeah, you make a great point here. It's kind of a reversal for what we've seen in those previous matches we've spectated. Hooper has their Unite available though, so this Trevenant can possibly make a dunk on top. Let's see what's going to happen here. Inteleon's going to start this for their team, and I don't know whether Team Dodo can actually access this Registeel at the moment. Knock comes out there. Hooper goes unbound. Look at that Snorlax blocking all of the arrows coming in from that Decidueye. Will get knocked down though, and suddenly it seems like a little bit more pressure is coming on the side of Dodo 2. Glaceon starts to Unite, gets stunned by the Hooper. What a massive enable from them, and I think this Blastoise is going to be a little bit of a problem here. Will get taken down as well. Now this is a Dodo 2 push for them in the bot pad, but everyone is so low on their team. I don't know whether that's a good idea, Lobo.
Absolutely. The hyperspace holes are just resetting Dodo 2 as they look for the push. Beautiful snipe shot, managing to take down the Trevenant. That front line is gone. Crustle just providing a little bit more distraction. As Legends Reappear did a fantastic job of defending. Possibly not the best idea. Dodo 2 knew that they had the Hooper hole, hyperspace hole reset, so that's probably why they pushed in. But possibly just, you don't want to give away that experience because we know how good the combat experience is in Pokemon Unite. But if we look at the levels heading on into the 3-minute mark, 12-12 Glaceon and Inteleon, 10-10 Snorlax and Eldegoss, and a level 11 Blastoise, as Legends Reappear finally show the top Regis some love, Fu.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this decky, even though they were, you know, invaded at the start, they managed to get the level 13. The arrow is charged right now, but it goes a little bit too early. What a great, I guess, stall coming in from Legends Reappear to make sure that they see the arrow before they go for that Ice Wind Burst. And look at this, Knight is going to be in a little bit of a trouble here, but Trees manages to Unite. That is a very, very late Unite by Stew there, Lobo. that they're not going to get it back for the final stretch. And I think Stu is just taking this opportunity to make the most value out of the uniting that late there to try to zone out this Elder Goss. But he might be caught in a tough situation here. They need to get prepared for this final stretch here, Lobo, because, you know, they're behind. They haven't scored a single point.
20 seconds, yeah. Dodo 2 do have a donut on the board. That Trevenant Unite, the Phantom Forest, is so effective at a good crowd damage and the additional effects that you get from it. So you want to make sure that Dodo 2 do have that Trevenant Unite coming back in. We have all 5 Unites on the side of Legends reappear. The levels seem quite even, except for that level 14 Decidui. And look at this, Trevenant just trying desperately to get its Unite back. Legends reappear don't really need to push this. They are in the lead by 199 points. Dodo 2 have to make the first move of the solar beams are popping. It looks like we're possibly going to get an engage here if Dodo 2 can pop this off. And Fu, they're starting to push into the Ray Pit.
Yeah, pushing to indeed. They need to do this, as you said. There's a bit of urgency on the side. Look at that. Xavier on the back line, flanking. Does anyone see this Blastoise coming in from behind? Here comes the huge surf. Hydro Typhoon knocks up 3 players instead of Dodo 2. And the Engage is going to go off. Knock comes out. Managed to pick off Blastoise, though. That's pretty massive. Snorlax takes a nap out of there. And when the dust has settled, there is only one knockout on the side of Legends Reappear. But it's just enough for the team because Dodo 2 is going to say this is an opportunity to rip this Rayquaza. Surf comes through from Mew, but the Inteleon is going to secure it for the team. An absolute MVP there in that scramble of the final stretch there. And I think this just allows them to get some Hundo Burgers in. Deki going up to top, maybe getting a stop on the Snorlax. No, it's not enough. 92 goes flying in for the team. And oh my god, could this be, Lobo? Could Dodo 2 score a single point this game?
A donut game is always in the mix, but Crossel going down to that Blastoise. An unbelievable Ray fight. We saw the incredible engage that you pointed out, Fu, where Blastoise managed to get around the entirety of Dodo 2, popping that Hydro Typhoon, hitting 2 members, but still managing to go down. We thought Legends Reappear might have been falling behind, get pushed back outside the Ray as Dodo 2 were attempting to take the Ray. But the Inteleon Unite move, we know how strong those crits are, and just even a basic attack with the power of the crits whilst the Unite move is active is going to secure that Ray. 10 seconds left to go. It does look like the first match in this game is going to go to Legends Reappear. They have reappeared, Fu. They're now setting their stage. They're setting the stage for themselves to become legends.
I mean, there's a reason they won the regional championships last year, isn't there, Lobo? I mean, that's just a very commanding performance. They really dominated for the better part of that game, and I think it is a bit interesting, right? Because this game, it went back to the typical focus on that basement Reggie and, you know, no real love for that Regieleki. But, you know, at the end of the day, it was just enough for them. As long as they saw that they had a roughly 200 points lead going to that Rayquaza, they were pretty chill, right? You know, and the fact that Xavier walked all the way around in the central area of Team Dodo to just to serve and get a massive Unite, I think really set them up for a great engage there. You know, it got a little bit rough, I think, towards the end where it was just a flip of the switch, but then DC, you know, that Inteleon, whether it was an auto attack damage or a sniper coming through. And I think it was a little bit unlucky as well, Lobo, that Mew was on Surf there. Because normally I would think that Mew has a easier secure because they can't get blocked, right? From another, I guess, opposition team member. But the fact that they're on Surf is just a little bit unlucky, and DC manages to win them the game with that secure on the Rayquaza.
Absolutely. Mew's such a difficult Pokemon to play. The Surf was obviously used to kind of possibly zone out LDR inside the Ray fight. But if we have a look as well at the bans, we've got Gyarados, Leafeon, Umbreon, and Dragonite being banned there. So pretty typical bans, do you think, from the side of both teams? Dragonite and Gyarados, as well as Leafeon, such strong attackers as we've seen. Dragonite, amazing secure with the Hyper Beam, obviously having the Hyper Beam and the Mew combination we've seen so many times as well. But getting that fish online really provides a strong front line. What do you make of those bans?
I mean, it's pretty classic to ban the Leafeon, but I think the D-Knight has been coming out a lot today. I think that's really the story of a lot of the matches we spectated today. Now, I want to kind of talk about the team compositions for both teams because I think the months leading up to April, right? We had the AOS Cup in February, the qualifiers there, and also the March Cup. We saw a lot of teams running like heavy dive comps, right? You've got like
Yes.
speedster roles, like the Zoroark, not just Leafeon, because Leafeon obviously you can play a little bit differently. It doesn't always have to go to the back line. But the Zoroark, the Zeraora, we don't really get to see that much in today's matches, right? It's a lot of double defender front lines, and then you've got two secure Pokemon such as like a Desi or a Mew, and then on the side of Legends Reappear, it was the Inteleon and the Glaceon, right? So it kind of like I guess there's a bit of a shift in the meta compositions, right? It's all about, hey, who can protect my two little squishies attackers, from behind, and who can really look to make sure that none of my secure Pokemons go down in the fight, and which I think just brings back to the point that because there was no easy, Pokemon to dive the backline, poor Xavier had to walk around. He had to take the long way around as a Blastoise just to do that job. But what do you think about this, change? Maybe it's something refreshing, right, for the region?
I think, well, because for a while now, every time we get a new Pokemon coming in, I think why we're seeing the decline of the speedster being used in these comps, as opposed to just a few, is because of how heavy the CC is currently in this meta with your defenders. Absolutely. Trevenant, you've got Woodhammer and Hornleech just able to catch anyone. Now at Blastoise, you've got the Surf Crustle, you've got the X-Scissor, Rock 2 plus Stealth Rocks also providing that slow Umbreon mean look. I mean, come on. If you're a speedster, that's the last thing you want to get caught in. And a few of the mons have a way around this. Zoroark with his illusion, and obviously there's a way to play around it with full heal. But considering how much damage that range attackers can do whilst also being quite squishy and stand behind their defenders, that proves a little bit too strong, as opposed to a speedster when you want someone that can dive behind that front line. But when you're getting CC'd too often and you're getting taken down perhaps just a little bit too much. We talked about it early in the games about the comeback experience when it comes to Pokemon Unite. I think that's a big foil towards speedsters possibly getting caught out. And I think that's why we're not seeing that many speedsters. Zoroark's so powerful, so powerful. Dodrio, so powerful. Like these Pokemon are standards that we see in normal ranked battle, but when it comes to 5-stack battle, either you have to reduce the amount of CC that these mons are taking, which requires a rework of a lot of mons, or you have to give speedsters a way to deal with CC. And so I would love to see a few more speedsters. We're starting to see Scyther, the Scyther Comfy combination. We're seeing the Zeraora Comfy combination. We're seeing Zoroark Comfy combination. It looks like the way to play a speedster in these competitive ways is to pair it with a Comfy, but we also want those speedsters to be able to survive and do their job properly, which is to dive that backline. So it's really interesting to see where the game has come to.
Yeah, you make a great point there. If your speedster player is not confident that they can get out of those crowd control situations, then it's better to pick something that's more laid back, like a mage, or like a mage central area Pokemon, something like that. The other thing is, I think we do have to talk about the Trevenant, right? The fact that because they didn't have that Unite move going into the final stretch, I think Trevenant, the Unite move, just provides so much sustain, right? And able to knock up just like a Hydro Typhoon on a Blastoise. But not having that, where there was a misclick or maybe they just believe that they can get value out of that, I think it really costed them the final stretch there, because, normally if you get your whole team gets knocked out by Blastoise and then the enemy team is just jumping on you, you have that Trevenant to knock them up, right? But without it, only a pain split to keep sustaining that match when you have a Glaceon that's just dashing around you and an Inteleon that's not even close to you. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be a tough ask, I think, just for the poor Crustle to take over, I guess, the role of two players there. So, mistakes happen. It is possible for 3 games, right? In this, best of 3 scenario. So all is not lost. But I think definitely it shows like a small decision like that could affect the final outcome of the match.
We know how effective that Phantom Forest can be because it's the difference between the Phantom Forest and the Hydro Typhoon, obviously both causing a bit of knock-up, but one is specifically around the Blastoise, whereas Phantom Forest can be pushed away from Trevenant, as also the additional effects that the Phantom Forest has. And having that Hooper on the same side, a beautiful link combination between the Rings on Brown Stun and the Phantom Forest is going to be a big problem, especially with Stun when you're looking for that Rayquaza secure, like we saw in that previous game. But Fu, there's one Pokemon that we haven't mentioned. It's a Pokemon you and I both play, and that is the tiny little ghost puppet. A way to get around possibly the Shadow Sneak, such a good way of getting past those frontliners. But we did see it previously. We saw it last week, and we have seen it being picked up with that Shadow Sneak Play Rough combination. Do you think we're going to see ourselves a Mimikyu, or do you think it's just a little bit underpowered going up against what we've got in the current meta?
I think the reason why Mimikyu works so well for us in ranked is because there is not a lot of team synergy, right, in the opposing team. I think going up against a team where 5 people are in the same conversation together, talking about, and conversing what's happening on the map, I think it's quite difficult for a Mimikyu to actually engage and make a successful engage. Obviously, we know the power of Play Rough and even Shadow Claw. I'm a big fan of Shadow Claw as well, going to certain comps, because the rip potential, the sustain that you have on that move is really quite spectacular. However, if you are trying to Shadow Sneak into a team where everyone is, updating each person what's happening, imagine Shadow Sneaking, you're like, oh, yes, I got that backline.
Yeah.
You jump in, and then the whole team just dives on you, and then your team's going, Fu, why did you do that? I do think that there's a little bit more finesse you have to do, especially if you're trying to play Mimikyu. Your team probably needs to work around drafting with you as well.
Yes,
it doesn't really help if you're the only one in the backline, does it? If you have no one to support you. But that's a great point, Lobo. Maybe we can manifest the Mimikyu coming out.
I feel like,
or even our favorite, the Sword.
Yeah, the Sword, the Aegislash, so strong, especially with Sacred Sword getting a fantastic buff. I know both you and I seem to have the same roster of Pokemon. We're going to have to sort this out. Maybe you get it on one day, I get it on another day. But Sacred Sword, such a good combination with the Wide Guard as well, getting those stacks and big burst damage from Aegislash, as well as possibly, I think, the best named Unite move in the game. Coup de Grace is a wonderful secure, especially with Aegislash. We saw these two mons being picked up last week. We saw the Mimikyu Play Rough, and we saw the Aegislash being picked up. Both really, really strong, especially Mimikyu's Unite move, just completely disabling possibly the secure of the opponent's team. So, but like you said, it's all about how these teams can work together. And we see it on the map when we're spectating these games and casting these games. These teams have each other's back, especially in the voice chat. So as soon as that Shadow Sneak comes onto you, there's a problem. You have to be very, very careful when it comes to playing these mons. But just a little bit of thought as to how we can play around this currently very heavy front line. And I'm loving seeing Decidueye. I would love to get your take on Decidueye right now, proving very strong, especially the Shadow Sneaks, powering up with the Inteleon, using Inteleon one side, Decidueye on the other. Knock Knock, such a great Unite move, such big damage. But we also saw can be completely negated by a Snorlax Unite move. Love to get your thoughts on Decidueye.
Yeah, that's a great question, Lobo. I think the Decidueye has to be in play, especially if you're going up against something like a Glaceon. I mean, when you have a team that's so tanky and with so much sustained potential, you really want Pokemons that can dish out a lot of constant damage, right? As well as Pokemons that can rock items such as the anti-heal items like the Incense or the Bangle. Because could you imagine trying to go up against a team that's very, very tanky up in the front line, but all you have is, let's say, a Moonbeam that comes on every few seconds, right? By the time you've shot your Moonbeam and your cooldown comes up again, your tanks on the opposite team is going to heal themselves back up with whatever sustain move they have. So I think having a Decky, if Glaceon is taken, or an Espeon's taken, even a Sylveon's taken, I think you definitely need to look to have those Pokemon on your team that can stop that sustain coming in. But it seems like for this matchup, Lobo, both of these teams are just looking to play the same type of composition. So going into this game number 2, Do you think they're going to switch it up, especially for Dodo 2, who didn't have the best amount of luck going to this game?
Well, I don't need
game
to.
number 1.
I don't need to speculate through because we can see it right here on the thing. That big mean bug has decided to come out with the Buzzwole. We are seeing a Dragonite, Inteleon, Eldegoss, and Blastoise Buzzwole combination. But look at this, we are seeing a Lucario and a Chandelure for the first time today. I'm actually very, very excited to see this combination. We haven't seen a Lucario pop off in quite some time. It does do very well in that top lane, but look at this, just getting bursted down by the Buzzwole Eldegoss combination going on. What do you make of these picks, the changes so far for both teams?
Yeah, I'm just trying to take into my brain all these picks at once. 10 very, very good Pokemon now for both teams here. Now, Buzzwole, we talked about how we didn't get to see too much of it, and it's just in play here. And I like the pick against the Lucario, actually, especially when you have that Eldegoss Lobo in that top path, just to make sure that they've got some sort of oppression against the Hooper, which is, so good at doing that A-press job as well.
Absolutely, we've got both central laners coming into the top side. Dragonair got both buffs. The Lickwick has evolved into the Lampert, but we've got Buzzwole, Eldegoss still not online yet. Both teams just waiting for this farm to spawn, but here we go. The Mew has decided to make his presence known. Lucario tried to go in, the Electro Ball firing on, and look at this, Legends reappear. Just have to back away with the amount of damage that's being put onto them right now, as Dodo 2 decided to get most of that central lane Altaria farm. We need to get that Eldegoss online for that combination of Buzzwole and LD to be so useful in the top side.
Yeah, definitely. I think this Pokemon needs to evolve just to make sure that the Buzzwole can get that level 7 as well. Lucario's doing very well just to match the levels because, with that power-up punch that I can see it's using, that's going to be another Pokemon that's great at securing those objectives.
Absolutely. Mew showing how good that Electro Ball secure is early game. We need to get the Crostal online. We need to get the Squirtle online. Both teams looking all right. Donuts both for both teams. Score Buzzwole trying to get a stack in. Does pick up the Lucario. The Hooper Hyperspace Hole is there for him to get out as it looks like Regent 3AP and Dragonair are just going to take all of this central farm. But Lucario getting the takedown in the top lane as we've got Chandelure now online, pushing towards that top side, trying to get some dunks in. Lucario trying to get that 11 points, 10 points in, and does power up punch his way back across to the D-Knight as the Hooper Hyperspace Hold proving to be very effective at stunning Legends reappear. Good push, don't you think, for going for both sides?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a great, I guess, a decision from Dodo to just not go into that middle 8-minute spawn of Altaria. Instead, they're prioritizing getting some dunks, maybe some stacks for that Lucario in that top path, making sure that it does really come online and it's able to snowball against that team. Look at this, Mew Beam already coming out against this Inteleon. Mew is level 6, whereas Inteleon is a hefty level 8 Lobo. Now, this is going to be a little bit stressful, I think, if you're on the side of Team Dodo 2, because DC is very, very close to getting his Unite, and we know how crazy the Spy Vision of Inteleon goes.
Spy Vision is absolutely amazing. We see that Inteleon has now reached level 9. Legends reappear, just deciding that they are going to take that top objective, as Dodo 2 decided to go for that top objective using the Hooper Highway effectively. The close combat does take down the Wartortle as Eldegoss pops his XP, but does get run down by the Electro Ball from the Mew. Regieleki telling them that they're not going to have it so easy. 5 members top lane, and now 5 members plus the Regieleki pushing onto this base with the Inteleon coming back to help out here. The Inteleon has decided to pop that Unite move. The Chandelure trying to get out of dodge, but the Mew basics and the Mew Electro Balls just finding it. Chandelure popping into Unite move, Solar Beam going in. They're trying as hard as they can to push this, but Dragonite decided to ult into the middle of the fray. Inteleon taking down the Lucario as a great defense by Legends reappear. I don't know, Fu, if Dodo 2 should have tried to push that objective.
It's a tough question, right? Because they did see that there were only 2 players on Legends reappear up top, but that Dragonite's Unite move, able to get them to other portions of the map in an instant, really paid off over there. And come on, level 10 Dragonite, a level 10 Inteleon Lobo, this is some scary snowballing coming out from Legends reappear. And I think what Dodo 2 needs to do is to capture some of these wild Pokemons, any if possible, on the map. They've done well so far, haven't they, Lobo? They haven't had any of their pads broken, but they need to make sure they're not level down in terms of the differences between their main carry Pokemon. Like, I want to see that Mew and Lucario be a little bit more, I guess, in terms of levels, so that they can match the damage output coming in from Legends Reappear.
Absolutely, you hit the nail on the head right there. That Hooper Highway proving super important as all of Dota 2 has decided to port to that top lane. 5 minutes with no pads broken is a rarity that we don't really get to see. The Electro Ball flying on, the Hydro Typhoon coming in, knocking all up. Great defense once again. The Hyperspace Hold not used, but Blastoise going down the close combat, putting damage on the on the Dragonite as he's just Dragon Dancing his way. Lucario and Mew decide to team up on the Eldegoss. Great teamwork by Dota 2. Dragonite going to unite behind them this time around, but the base has already gone. But now Dota 2 can just escape through the Hyperspace Hole as Buzzwole decides to unite. The Inteleon Snipe going onto the Lucario. I feel like Dota 2 just overstayed their welcome just a little bit too much as Legends Reappear deciding to do a counter push for themselves. The Snipe Shots, the Hyper Beams, the Buzzwole slamming is going everywhere. Crustle taking down the Buzzwole, but going down to the Inteleon in the time being. It is fight after fight as Overheat takes down the Eldegoss, and here we go. Chandelure also managing to take down the Blastoise. 3 KO streak for the Chandelure. The Inteleon just not getting away. 4 KO streak. Attack and defense to the max as Dota 2 take that top Regieleki food.
I love that enthusiasm, Lobo. I mean, that knockout from Buzz on that Buzzwole just really set them up for a great engage and a refight there. And I think Knight is especially happy with that KO Sugar 4 because he is now level 12. He's matched it, done his job. He's now the same level as the opposition carry Pokemon. And I think Buzz might be a little bit of a trouble here. Managed to get out, pops the focus ban. And I think from Dota 2's perspective, yes, look at that on top path. They're just going to try to get that in. Lucario's going to 1v1 the Inteleon. Maybe able to get it down. No, it doesn't. Lucario will go down to the Inteleon. And the Rings Unbound has come out, Lobo.
The Rings Unbound, unable to stop the Hyper Beam, secure the Hydro Typhoon, also popping everybody up. Now the fight is on once again. The Crustle Wall stopping the Blastoise from going anywhere with the Mew boosted, following it up. Buzzwole just going to punch the Crustle away, saying, get away from my pad. But now, this is probably not the best time for Dota 2 to try and push this pad as Legends Reappear have decided to defend. Lucario just doing exactly what you said, Fu, trying to make himself as much of a nuisance as possible and get as many levels as we can. But look at the levels that we've got going into the 3-minute mark. 12, 13, 10, 10, 11 for the side of Legends Reappear. 13, 12, 11, 10, 10 for the side of Dota 2. But what we want to see is that Hooper Unite move, the Rings Unbound, coming back onto the side of Dota 2. What do you make of that with 45 seconds left to go until that all-important Rayquaza spawns?
I love the resilience that Dota 2 has shown this game. You know, obviously first game was a bit of a snowball and dominance coming in from Legends Reappear, but Dota 2 really have shown that they can play with the I guess the titans of this region as well. They're now in the points lead, Lobo. They've got that Ray positioning. Looks like no team is going to show any love to this third Regieleki. And look, there's maybe an early engagement coming in from Manny there on the Blastoise. I think both teams are just looking, you know, can we get some pokes on the enemy team as we set up this final stretch? Because, you know, for the first time today, Legends Reappear are now behind, all right, going into this Rayquaza fight. Let's see how they play out this Rayquaza pit.
Absolutely. 2 minutes on the dot. That big green lizard has decided to spawn up. Both teams have a top side and a bottom side tier 1 pad up. We want to play on either side of it because they have the ability to go back and heal. Blastoise going in with the Surf. The Mew boosted order has decided to pop. Buzzwole just punching that cross away. And there it goes. The Hooper Unbound is in play as we go through. Dota 2 is just pushing Legends Reappear out of the Ray pit. Here we go. The Hydro Typhoon comes in from the Blastoise. Buzzwole taking down the Chandelier. The Lucario ult has been popped as well. They're all just fighting in this pit. 2 takedowns for the side of Legends Reappear on Dota 2. The Inteleon managing to get the KO on the Mew. The only one left is the Crustle. What a great fight. The chaos ensuing from anywhere. Crustle trying to make himself known here, but Inteleon managing to secure the Rayquaza for the side of Legends Reappear. 100 to 142 with 1 minute left to go through. These Hundo Burgers have to come in, but it looks like the Inteleon shield has been broken. Dragonite, can he get his shield broken as well? No, the slams are just too much, and now the scores are going to start rolling in. What a back and forth Ray fight for both teams too.
I just have to say, I know Buzzwole had changes in the patch, right? They got nerfed a little bit, but that Buzzwole was the star of that show in that Rayquaza pit. The fact that it was able to lock in that Lucario to get out the opposition top path player and then really still stay in the playing field, defend out that Crustle was just magnificent. I mean, I'm actually just confused why we haven't seen more Buzzwoles today, but you can clearly see Buzzwole's still a very viable pick for Legends Reappear. And, you know, I have to give credit to Dodo 2, though. I think they played an excellent 8 minutes going into that Rayquaza pit. Maybe it was a little bit of a scramble at the 2-minute mark, but I think they definitely showed us that they can, you know, play as well as the others.
5 seconds to go. The hoop unbound has come in. Can they get the points in? Oh my god, Food, do we have a turn of the... No. I thought with 5 seconds to go, a few takedowns coming in, unable to secure, but even if they did, not enough points in the bank with such a short amount of time. But that is going to be 2-0 to Legends Reappear. They've reappeared and now they're writing their own story. New look teams, both sides. But here we go. It is Umbreon and Trevenant and Gyarados and Leafeon once again banned. That Gyarados, people are just too scared of the little fish that could, don't you think, Fu?
The little fish that could indeed. And I think if you are Team Dota 2, you won't be too disappointed for this matchup as well, because like we said at the start, this is their first ever cup playing together. And the fact that they made losers semifinals, Lobo, is a huge achievement. And I think it's really a great setup for the momentum going into that regionals next month as well. But this will mean that Legends Reappear will secure their position in the losers finals against Ground Zero Gaming. And now we have I guess a great showing again coming up in that match. I can't wait. I think today when I first joined and looked at the bracket logo and saw the teams that we're gonna play today and the matchups, I mean, we are in for a treat, aren't we? And I think today has just been a great showing of not only the different compositions that team can play, different bands that they can play, but just the sheer force of some of these Rayquaza fights, which we know are the most important, right? 2 minutes of some of these players' competitive careers, right? Anything could change there. You know, if Crustle got that steal on that Rayquaza, that would just be in the Hall of Fame there. But, you know, some things aren't that easy, as they say.
I would have popped out of my seat if a Crustle came in and X's at that at the last minute. But again, we saw the Inteleon secure. But like you said, Phil, I love seeing the versatility of both of these, of all of the teams. Every single team that we've seen the versatility. We've seen... for me, the most surprising thing, we saw what Ground Zero show us how powerful the Gyarados was in previous cups. And now other teams are starting to pick it up, seeing how strong, and not only strong, but damage ability from the Hyper Bee, but how good of a secure it is. And now they're starting to partner up the Dragonite with the Inteleons, with the Mews, with these other incredible secures. And so the evolution of the OC region is so incredible to follow. But look, we have Legends Reappear, who have reappeared once again, going up against Ground Zero Gaming. But let us not forget who is waiting in the grand final. Now, this is not Antic's first time in the grand final. They were in the grand final last month. They were in the grand final the month before that as well, where they won their trip to EUIC. So Antic's been here before. Ground Zero has been there before. But can Legends Reappear make a appearance in the grand final? Fu, what do you think?
I think they're definitely the dark horse to watch here. We have 3 incredible teams locked in for that top 3 position. Speaking of reappear, though, I think we should make 2 other fantastic people reappear on screen for everyone. I want to see what their thoughts are on that game, because even though it was a 2-0, it was some fury matches up. I'm going
Absolutely.
in. So welcome back, Kellosaurus and Curlicue.
Hello. Well, that was such a shake-up, a great losers semi-final. But as you said, Legends reappeared. They have reappeared, and they are absolutely looking fierce.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Oh no, you're okay.
Curly.
I was gonna say, you know, despite Legends Reappear absolutely dominating that set, I really have to give some credit where it's due. Dodo 2, I mean, they definitely struggled a lot in that first game, not being able to score a singular point. So that is very rough. But looking at their game too, I gotta say, it's just absolutely incredible to see them come back to life. They definitely learned a lot in that first game. And so we definitely saw them, play that second game much, much better. Unfortunately, they weren't able to send it into a game 3, but really cool to see teams utilizing knowledge that they gained from a game 1 in order to perform better in that game 2.
Guess that's the brilliance of having those best of threes. You're able to just readjust if you can have another chance at a shot of taking it to that round 3 situation. But that means we are going to close that page off, and now Legends Reappear are going to go up against the next of OC's Titans, Ground Zero. Now with Ground Zero, they are your March Cup champions, so we definitely do not want to underestimate them. But as you mentioned, Legends Reappeared being the dark horse here, are they going to be able to catch them off their feet? I mean, I find it absolutely wild in this day and age, in this meta, that we're seeing Gyarados bans through. Like, what?
Alright, everyone's scared of the little red fish, right? Because if it comes online, it just does massive damage. And I like what the patches have done, Kello, because each patch that comes, it kind of shifts the meta a little bit. Teams start picking up Pokemons that we never really see in competitive games. I mean, we have more exciting actions to come, right? I can't wait. I hope a team pulls off a Pokemon we haven't seen today, just to add a little bit of spice into the mix.
Look, there is such a vast pool of Pokemon to choose from, so we'll have to wait and see, or whether these teams are just going to play it safe. But as we do prepare ourselves for the losers finals, we're going to hang tight, take ourselves a little break, so make sure to replenish your snacks, replenish whatever you're drinking, whether it be water, soda, coffee. Maybe you might need some caffeine. I know we might need some caffeine here as we are heading along into the day, and of course that popcorn, as Fu likes to mention. So we'll be back very shortly with your losers final.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Unite Championship Series for the April Cup, the OC edition. I am Lobo. I am joined by the wonderful Fu, Kellosaurus, and Curly Q. We are heading straight on into our next game for the losers finals, and I'm going to leave you in the wonderful hands of Kellosaurus and Curly Q for the Ground Zero versus Legends Reappear game. Ladies, take it away.
Thanks so much, Lobo. This is an exciting match, Curly. Not only do we have two powerhouse teams here in this match, but a pretty powerhouse crew behind the scenes as well. Shout out to Miss Mystic and Rosandra on the cams. But here we go. We are sending a Phantom and Chansey up in that top path for Ground Zero, and we have Snorlax and Eevee, which will turn into a Sylveon eventually over on the bottom side. What do we think about these team compositions? Leafeon's out! Leafeon's out!
Yes, the Leafeon is out. Actually, I was gonna mention, Kello, we did see Ground Zero picking up the Leafeon a game or two in previous sets, but now it's Legends Reappear that is rocking with that Leafeon. But we are also seeing some familiar picks on the side of Ground Zero. Sylveon has been a very frequent pick on their side. Oof, unfortunate for the poor little Chansey that gets knocked out there. But also, we have been seeing them playing that Snorlax quite a bit. So some very